Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. I am your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome a very accomplished entrepreneur, someone who has just become a unicorn from Bangalore, India, Mr. Amit Kumar Agarwal. Amit, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Ashutosh.
Amit is the founder and CEO of NoBroker.com, which is the only C2C player in the real estate market. So, Amit, fantastic news about you joining the exclusive club of unicorns. Let's talk about No Broker. Tell me a little bit about this venture and what was your motivation to start it?
So the concept is very simple, although disruptive. So what NoBroker.com does is that we connect owners and tenants and buyers and sellers directly with each other without any broker in between.
Mm-hmm.
And the concept that we started with was that while internet is all pervasive, but why is it so that physical brokers are still collecting such a huge amount of brokerage?
Correct.
And, can't we connect people together directly?
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. And how are you using technology to support a lot of these transactions?
So actually, most of the thing is done with the help of technology. Imagine for any transaction, so we don't have any physical people on the ground. We just connect owners and tenants directly with each other. Owner just needs to WhatsApp us the photos. It is auto uploaded in the platform. Technology basically pulls all the details, which is the nearest bus station, locality details, everything. The disk gets auto populated. So the objective is to use technology as much as we can in a field like real estate, which many people have ignored from a digital intervention point of view.
Very true. Very true. And how have you been building your database of properties around? I mean, one of course is the physical buyer and seller putting it there, but you just mentioned that you know exactly where the property is and how what is near it with bus stop, etc. Tell me a little bit more about this.
So there are two aspects to it. One is getting the property, which is the more difficult aspect. Second is the easier aspect, which is a technology aspect, that once you have gotten a technology, then you use the given APIs which are available in the digital world to pull out public information across the property, locality, city, and so on and so forth, to help consumer make easy decision. First thing, which is getting property, is a tough business because in the broker classified, it is easy, right? You basically hire a couple of good engineers and you start a website and you say it is free for brokers. Brokers are populating it. Now the property may be fake or maybe half real, but your site will get populated. Suddenly, after a few days, you have a working site. Imagine that if you cut the brokers, then you are just sitting because you're looking for a owner to come and post his property. A tenant will come and he might say, "Hey, I have come and where is the property that I want on this street for this price today?" That micro locality connection is very difficult. So this is not some mobile phone that I get one manufacturer and everybody can buy the standard mobile phone. This is basically micro locality marriage, and which is a perishable. So hence building C2C, which is customer to customer, is a tough business.
Interesting. And you mentioned that the brokers take away a large amount of the value. And in some brokers I have dealt with could be taking 1% from the buyer and 1% from the seller.
Correct.
How is the broker community reacting to a C2C platform like NoBroker.com?
So the broker community hasn't been much happy.
I can imagine.
We were attacked by a group of 70-80 brokers. Our office was attacked by them a few years back. They wanted to break stuff, scare our employees. And of course, we complained to police and so on and so forth, but nothing much came out of it. And many of those miscreants used to follow female employees when they used to work at the end of the day and damaged many of the bikes which were parked outside. So it was a lot of nuisance. So we had to almost overnight vacate the office premises. And then we shifted to a corporate office. But in the between, we had to split and stay in two different temporary offices. So it was a huge inconvenience to customer as well as basically us. But But I think over years now, what has happened is they have adjusted to us and we have adjusted to them. So, yes.
Very interesting. So, when you look at your original business model that you started off with, what are some of the benefits that you wanted to provide to the seller and to the buyer?
So, basically, two, three things. One is that for seekers, we wanted to provide a huge array of choices,
Mm-hmm.
huge array of choices to choose from.
Mm.
Same thing for owners.
Mm.
Huge number of tenants to choose from.
Mm.
Combination of a type of tenant you want versus the price that he's willing to give.
Mm.
Second was speed, that you should be able to quickly buy, sell, rent a property.
Mm.
Third is cost.
Mhm.
The cost of the transaction should be rock bottom, as low as possible, because you are using internet.
Correct.
So these are the three things that we basically play. And what we feel is that any broker or us or any other platform, whoever does it faster and cheaper,
Mm. We'll get the
yeah,
business. Well
yeah.
said. So, I'm much older than you are, and I've seen the real estate market very closely over the last 42 years. When platforms like yours come, they bring in a lot of transparency. How are you tackling the transparency which a lot of buyers and sellers want to cover up?
So, see, actually, to a large extent, given that now most of the houses are taken on loan,
Mm-hmm.
and the banks anyway do this due diligence because they need to protect their capital.
Mm-hmm.
So, all the regulatory cover up is now very difficult,
Okay.
unless it's a very, very specific fraud case and so on.
Mm-hmm.
The regulatory cover up is very difficult because what has changed in 30 years before to today is that almost every property is bought on loan.
Mm-hmm.
So one is this. Second is, for as far as tenant is concerned, because the entry barrier is pretty low, exit barrier is pretty low, so they are not that worried about it.
Mm-hmm.
What we have found is actually the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
The opposite is as follows. What we have found is that it is not the owners who want to mislead the tenants and tenants.
Mm-hmm.
It is basically a interested party in between who's happy to twist the facts.
Mm-hmm.
Basically say that this because he wants a deal to be closed. For example, I'll tell you that I'm a non-vegetarian. I somehow ended up discovering a house where the owner was very particular about vegetarian tenants. Broker, without even consulting me, immediately promised the landlord that hey, this family is great, they're pure vegetarian. And somehow we ended up closing the deal, and it was a very embarrassing situation. Every time the landlord comes, we are trying to hide eggs in the kitchen. So we realized that many of this misinformation is created by a interested party.
Very well said. Very well said. Very well said. The other part, Amit, I'd love to get your perspective on is that in our country, property records is still a big question mark. I mean, there is talk happening on digitization, etc. I would love to get your thoughts on how are property records being digitized? How is technology like blockchain being implemented to ensure that both the owner of the property and the potential buyer have complete transparency?
I would say a couple of things which are not good and a couple of things which are good. Couple of things which are not good and which we are still waiting is considerable progress in terms of digitization, especially tier 2 and tier 3 cities and lands. Usage of blockchain, of any top-notch technology. So these are something that are still lacking. But which have surreptitiously and which have happened in the past few years, which might have missed the notice of is that actually a couple of things have done really well. For example, in Bombay, I remember 5 years, 7 years back, we had to go to the government office to do the rental agreement done. You have to give your thumbprint and so on. But now, with the help of the vendors, our vendor partner, you on a Sunday evening, on a Sunday morning, you can be in your pajamas and a guy will come. He will with his laptop, he will take your thumbprint. all the registration will get done without you ever putting your foot in the government office.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So this is something which we have done because those APIs were available with the government, but nobody was exploring it.
Hmm.
So this is amazing because I remember spending half a day of office day doing this thing.
Hmm.
And second, basically, what has happened recently is that government is also making this information public as to at what prices the deals are happening.
Correct.
So otherwise, I am living in this building. I have no idea whether the house above me at what price has it been sold. I need
Hmm.
to ask. But actually, this information is available with the government records.
Hmm.
And we have been able to pull those records, digitize them, and now we are publishing them. So
Wow.
you can go to no broker site, you can look at any property, will fetch the data as to
Hmm.
what was the last transaction.
Hmm. Fascinating. And there is also a constant struggle. I mean, I'm going through it myself with my father's house, which is a landed property in Delhi. I can't seem to find the original conveyance deed. Now that's
Oh,
become a very big issue, and I keep saying there is no dispute, nothing on this property. It's been with original owner, everything, but the documentation is not available. And once you lose a conveyance deed,
yeah.
your certified conveyance deed is not acceptable.
This is really unfortunate. I can understand the pain that you are going through.
Huh.
And you must be wondering when there is no other dispute, then why can't basically I have the ownership of a property which I legally, duly own?
No, and it has been transferred in my name also, but I'm
Oh,
trying to sell it, and it's a constant problem, and I can't produce a conveyance deed from anywhere.
you are right.
Okay, so moving on, uh, when you look at the work that a broker does, they come and find the buyer, they come with the agreements, they get it signed, and they take it for registration. They do a lot of different things. How are you handling these services?
This is a very good question. In fact, when we started No Broker, we, in our innocent wisdom, thought that the only thing which matters is closing the deal.
Hmm.
When we reached to customer, they said, "Hey, that is one part of my life.
Hmm.
Another part of the life is who will do the rental agreement, who will do the
Hmm.
legal documentation, buy and sell."
Hmm.
And we're like, "अरे वो तो बस एक प्रिंट आउट लेके कर देते हैं ना." But
Ah.
he said, "No." Customer said, "So what? I still need the template which I can trust to sign a rental agreement deal. And
Hmm.
anything which is buy and sell, then I need more complex."
Correct.
What we realized is that in that these things can be solved with the help of technology,
Hmm.
and they are very important to be solved because customer wants end-to-end experience. So as I just said, that for rental agreement in Bombay now, what we are doing is the guy will come at your home and do the entire thing.
Hmm.
For legal documentation, now we have a huge array of good lawyers across the country with whom we have tied up. So you need anything. You need a will. You need anything to do with real estate. You want a legal agreement, sale deed, anything.
Hmm.
Home loan, we have an array of lawyers, partners with banks and so on. So we'll do everything.
I
So
see.
we'll take care of your home loan, we'll take care of your legal documentation, any complexity which comes in terms of taxation, in terms of succession planning, everything handle.
Hmm.
So you're right, the objective is not only to do what broker is doing, but provide even better service
Hmm.
and a more wide array of service.
And much more reliable.
Of course.
Wonderful. So, Amit, the other trend that I have been noticing is that a lot of the millennials, the Gen Zs who are now in the workforce today, they are renting much more than buying. Except that I was told in the pandemic, suddenly this demand for big apartments has come. What is happening in the real estate market in build versus buy, in rent versus buy, and so on?
So see, the truth be told, I think it has become a little fashionable to in the media to say that millennials are more about renting cars instead of buying homes or buying homes. Actually, the data doesn't support it.
Okay.
What the data is basically saying is the just reverse.
Mm-hmm.
The average age of a home buyer is reducing every year.
I see.
Because you see the disposable income of youngsters has been increasing over the past 10 years. And no matter what we say, how much we talk about the equity culture or crypto, the matter is that even today, the biggest investment that any individual does in the country is in real estate.
Correct.
Majority of people's net worth is basically parked in real estate. So now we are seeing in our own office itself, the youngsters before getting married or just recently married, basically buying homes and home loan with those disposable income. So what we are seeing is a is actually people buying homes even at a younger age.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And what about the rental market? Is that plateauing out, growing?
So rental market has been extremely confusing in the past 2 years.
Okay.
Typically before that, so we have been doing this business for past 8 years now.
Uh-huh.
So the first 6 years, the rental business, we have seen it growing steadily up with 5-6% inflation.
Mm-hmm.
And there have been pockets where it has grown more because there is some IT city or some startup area which is coming more and somewhere else. So it has been a mixture of that. Uh, but the last 2 years have been very haphazard
Mm-hmm.
because lockdown happened, many people moved to the tier two cities. Then when the waves were over, they started coming back, and then again the third wave came. So it
Correct.
was all over the place.
Correct. 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 And another perspective I want to get from you is work from home. What is that doing to no broker, and what is it doing to size of apartments?
So two things. One, that the in work from home has now become extremely fashionable, I must say.
Correct. Yeah.
And although my personal view is not much in favor of work from home, because
Mm-hmm.
I believe that while it gives a sense of comfort in the short term,
Mm-hmm.
majority of the things that people learn is
Mm-hmm.
through osmosis.
Mm-hmm.
Being in the company of others, being through
Mm-hmm.
chance encounters while you are passing by, meeting at lunch in office, and people learn from their seniors through this osmosis by observing.
Mm-hmm.
All of that has completely broken down. So the impact of this, which is has on children, which is it has on young colleagues, is I think overall net negative. But
Mm-hmm.
it seems to give a lot of a short-term comfort. So right now, what is happening is that that just in December, as soon as December, companies like Wipro and TCS were talking about
Mm-hmm.
opening offices fully, but now it has again gone down.
Mm-hmm.
So saw in the real estate business was that the youngsters, the people who could basically pack up their things in a briefcase and could go, they
Mm-hmm.
shifted to the tier two cities to their hometowns.
Mm-hmm.
People who basically had young families, they also shifted. People whose kids are school going, they have but many of them have moved to hometown, but they have not packed their bags and vacated the homes.
Okay.
That hasn't happened because they were never sure as to when the school will open. Because
Mm-hmm.
it was always incremental. कि अच्छा अभी 2 महीना फिर 2 महीना. So the behavior has been of the work from home on real estate.
So, Amit, one of the things that has always been said traditionally in India and in China, that the Hindi words are zar and zameen, gold and land, are the two properties or two items that everyone must have in their portfolio. I'd love to get your perspective on, is this beginning to change for land?
So if you ask me personally, I think equity is underrepresented in the country. So you have anyway, you have been a part of the ITC ESOP culture and you have seen the wealth creation. So I think equity is underrepresented despite running a platform which is focused on real estate. I personally feel that we as Indians should be doing much more in equity
Okay.
than locking all our wealth in real estate. So I have a counter view
Hmm.
on
Okay.
this.
Hmm.
What has between the and Indians, but the truth of the matter is Indians have had, or at least the earlier generation has had very bad
Hmm.
experience in equity market.
Hmm.
So as Indians overall, we continue to over focus on land and gold,
Hmm.
on properties and gold.
Hmm.
Within property, to answer your question, what we are seeing is that the convenience which has now been given by the builders and through gated communities
Hmm.
has shifted focus of youngsters much more on built apartments rather than
Hmm.
land.
Correct.
So, and that is the reason why we have not launched land till now because the demand is not that high.
Hmm.
The earlier generation and the tier two cities are still very enthused about land
Hmm.
because they realize that the multiplier of wealth that you can do from a land to
Hmm.
a very
Hmm.
habitable area to a building is much more.
Hmm.
But yes, right now I would say in the metro, it is less about land and more about finished products as apartments.
Fascinating. And I'd like to get one more perspective on you on commercial real estate versus residential real estate. I mean, there's generally, someone was giving me this statistic, and you're the expert, is that for every 100 square feet of commercial, you probably have to get 600 square feet of residential or something of that kind. I'd love to
Commercial,
get your perspective.
yeah. So commercial, I would say, is like a open secret which nobody is ready to, which people are not actually using in bulk.
Uh-huh.
Let me explain what I mean is, see, everybody is behind residential. The moment people start earning, they want to buy a home. That's fine. But when it comes to investment, people still go for residential when residential gives us only 2% or 3% rental yield.
Correct.
Commercial, on the other side, gives you 8 to 12% rental yield. It is available in all sizes. You can buy a small 70 square foot shop on a road which is extremely busy, where the shop go well, and you can rent it. Your rent is 8 to 12%. The appreciation can be anywhere between 2 to 5%. It's amazing. And we have also partnered with many property share companies who help consumers pool the capital and buy commercial properties and then collect rent from brands like LG, Samsung, banks, and then distribute it among the so-called shareholders at a pre-agreed agreement that after 5 years, 7 years will sell. Commercial, I think is commercial. As you know, the commercial is extremely lucrative, but somehow majority of us Indians don't look at it for investment, but we should.
Very interesting. So Amit, I've got time for one more question, and I was trying to figure out what to ask you, but let me ask you a question. For a young individual starting off on their corporate journey or as an entrepreneur, what would your advice be to buy a home?
So my advice would be that buying one home where you can live I would vote very strongly for it. There's an emotional attachment to it. You can live the way in which you want to live in a home. There is no landlord to pester you. It gives them stability. So, and the home loan rates are pretty low. There are websites like us who can help you find a good home. So buying one home is something which I will strongly recommend. After that, for investment purpose, I would encourage not only to just look at residential, but also look at commercial, also look at land, also look at equity related investments.
Okay.
So therefore, after you have bought a home of your own, then I think the second investment has a wide array of choices, which we as Indians needs to appreciate much, much more.
Very interesting. Because, when I was growing up and looking at my first home, I remember the multiplier effect of my cost to company versus my acquiring a home was probably in excess of 40 times.
Oh, wow.
And therefore, loans were very difficult to get, and people were not willing to take loans.
Correct.
What is that multiplier now?
Multiplier now of salary towards, so typically you would say the people, that multiplier is now barely, I would say 10 to 12 times.
Amazing.
The annual salary versus, because the salaries have gone up.
Correct.
And the prices after 2008 hasn't gone much on a macro level. So now that balance has come, because of course that imbalance was unsustainable. The 40x is unsustainable, right? Because if you can't buy a house, then it means many others can't buy, so property prices.
Absolutely. And I think that was the reason why people of my generation bought houses much, much later in life.
Correct. You're right.
Wonderful. Yeah. So Amit, on that note, thank you so much for speaking to me. Thank you for talking to me at such length about your baby, nobroker.com. Thank you for talking about all the challenges you have faced and about all the opportunities. And thank you for talking so much about equity, which you believe in, obviously. And thank you for all the amazing advice you've given to the young people who will, I'm sure, listen to you and then take their own calls, of course. Thank you again and good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the brand called You.